You need to know the birds, you need to be able to identify them from their calls, animal habits and habitats, gestation periods, vernacular names, the trees, flowering seasons, medicinal values, economical values, the fish, astronomy, firearms and ballistics.
I can see the big elephant in front of us. So we're going to wait for that elephant to move. Then we'll continue heading to the lions. That's a giant male elephant.
Welcome to The Trail Less Traveled, an adventure radio series and podcast dedicated to collecting stories and sounds from around the world in order to take you back to mankind's earliest form of entertainment, storytelling. Missoula, Montana is a mecca for outdoor enthusiasts, and each week we will bring you tales of adventure from both near and far, as well as information and inspiration and a few tunes to set the mood. You can subscribe to the podcast and learn about our international outreach projects at traillesstraveled.net. And now, here's your host, International Expedition Guide, Conservationist, and Yogi, Mandela.
For this episode of The Trail Less Traveled, I invite you to join me for 3 individual interviews featuring guides currently working on the lower Zambezi River. Whether we're on foot or in a 4x4 vehicle, this is an opportunity for all to learn about the importance of healthy ecosystems and wildlife for everyone.
Okay, my name is Marshal Karafa. I work for Chiawa Safaris. I'm based at Old Mondoro Bush Camp. So I've been working in the lower Zambezi for the past 15 years. I started at Sausage Tree Camp as a training guide and barman there. Then I did my exams in 2008. So I've been guiding since that time. I like my job and I like this part of the area of the national park. So I've been to several places around here. So I know the park very well. And also I've traveled to other national parks such as South Ruangwa. Also I've been to Uganda and other part of Africa. So I've learned how important of wildlife is. So I'm always supporting conservation all the time. So I just started at school being as a conservation member. So I always wanted to work with animals all the time. And so I'm very lucky to be here. And why I like to be part of conservation as a conservationist is because I really benefit for me and other people in the community. Because, for example, for me, I have kids, and so whatever I get from here, I'm able to support my family and also other people, my siblings, and like that. So it's no wonder that whenever we see the animals around here, I'm very, very happy so that we are there to protect the animals. So to preserve these wildlife areas, it's really, really important to us and for the community back home. So there is a bit of conflict between the people in the village and the wildlife, because us as the ambassadors of the conservation, we always go back home there and explain to people that killing animals is not good, because when we save the animals, then we'll have several tourists in the country, which really will help us. The money will come in the country, then we'll build schools and also the hospitals and the roads, because the tourism is very, very important and it's one of the big industry we have in Zambia. So it's really, really good. So people now, they've started to learn how to protect the animals, which is very good. Although the animals would eat their crops, so we try to help and try to make them understand how we can come up with a solution for both for wildlife and us, so that there's no conflict in between the animals and villagers back home. It's really very important around here. I would say that we need to start educating people in the village, and also with the support with the donors, supporting these organizations, which always bring, like we employ the game scouts, the people who does poaching, and so that they can have enough funds to help and employ more local people to protect the wildlife we have. So no wonder we always ask people, whenever we're on a safari, we tell people what a good work is being done just to protect, to have these elephants around here. Yeah.
You're really good at this. Awesome. So I also work as a guide, and part of the reason I spent half my life as a guide is because I truly believe people who experience wildlife and who experience wild places will walk away and fight to protect it.
Yeah, so we do the same. For instance, if someone happened to kill an animal, or I hear someone is a poacher or something like that, I would always tell them that this is not the only way you can get money. So the only way we can do is by just protecting this wildlife, and also we can always find a way of finding other way how to find the monies. So we always advise them, if they have enough money, they can always go to the national parks and look for the site and put up the wildlife bush camp, safari or a lodge or a bush camp. Then they'll have more money because the animal, they're always there. It's a natural thing. So whenever, even when people, even the government decide to put like mining area, I said, oh, we want to put a mine near the national parks, we always protest because mining, it can end anytime. It have a lifespan of probably 30 years. After that, the area will be destroyed, and so no wonder we don't agree when doing the like mining. So we always tell them that we keep the natural wildlife the way it is, because the animal, they'll always be there. So we don't harm animals because we take only pictures. So it will be a good way of protecting our national parks. So like mining, it's not good to any national park or any part of the wildlife areas. So no wonder we always advise people who are like saying, oh, let's put the mine because there's only few people benefiting. But when we save these animals we have, these will last forever. It's not for us now. It's for our kids, generations and generations. They will be there, they will find these animals. Then their kids, they will take away. It's like everlasting things we can have. So it's very important. The mining, they will just do it for a few years, then it's over. Then this area will be destroyed. Our kids, our grandkids, they will never see these beautiful animals we have. So no wonder we are there back home telling people how important it is to have these national parks. And we need to make sure we defend these areas and protect them jealously.
Awesome. Let's dive into that issue. So there is currently a proposed copper mine about 20 kilometers from where we are right now in the mountains. And you are part of the Lower Zambezi Guide Association. And it sounds like the collective effort is to urge UNESCO to designate Lower Zambezi World Heritage Site in order to prevent this mine and further mines. Can you elaborate?
Yeah, so we had these people who did like assessment saying, oh, it won't affect Lower Zambezi, it's quite far away from where the mine will happen. But we are against that because we are very close, because those people, they'll be using these explosives. So each time they use explosives, then the animal, they'll be able to detect through the vibration. So they'll even leave this area. This area will be left with nothing. We don't like that. We need that UNESCO to protect this and put it as a heritage site. We are against that. As the Lower Zambezi Guides Association, we've been printing the T-shirts which we're going to put no mining in any Zambia national parks. So we need to protect these 22 national parks we have in Zambia. So no any mine activities will be done. So we'll try to protect us. I'm very sure that the president himself is going to understand. He needs to understand what people are saying about this area. So as the Lower Zambezi Guides Association, we'll keep fighting for that so that everything that can be discontinued. The mine, it will never happen, I think, because this story has been going on and on for a long time. So we need people from outside the countries to help us to fight this. Yeah.
Okay, so we are driving in Lower Zambezi National Park, and I am excited that we are revisiting the lions. Can you tell us about what's so special about what's happening with the lions right now?
So the lions, we saw them yesterday, and there were 4 of them, and they were mating. So this morning, the lions, it must be just before, it was probably in the night, they killed the waterbuck. So we are going there to have a look, but my colleague said he saw them not far from Old Mondoro area. So that's why I'm heading there now to go and have a look. then we'll enjoy watching them. So those ones, because why we like, the wildlife photographing safaris is that we don't harm the lions. So we saw them yesterday, we took pictures, and today we're going there and we're going to watch them again so they can live forever. And those ones, they were mating, so hopefully next year we might see the cubs coming out, so which is very good. But if it was like mine, these animals will just disappear, so won't see them. Yeah, so we're going back there to the lions, which is not far from here. We'll go and have a look and enjoy them, which is really, we are very privileged that we can have those animals around us. We always tell people back home that we live with nature. We need one of the time, maybe one of the conservation Lower Zambezi can also start bringing other people from the city there to show them so that they can see what is happening, how important it is to have animals in their natural environment, and so that they don't have to support mining. They think mining, that's where they get money all the time, but there's nothing there because it's just for short time. But wildlife, they'll benefit it forever. So they have to understand that they need to learn how to appreciate the wildlife. So we'll definitely try to enforce some of the places where they can bring the locals to come and appreciate the beauty of the national parks in Zambia. Yeah.
So wildlife and communities face a few different difficulties, and I'm wondering, for your parents and maybe even your grandparents, if you could share some of the stories that you've heard about what happened here in the 70s and 80s and 90s with poaching.
Okay, so during that time, let's say 1960s, 70s, that time for them, people, because there was no education about conservation. So these people, like my grandmother, she lived here in Chakwenga village, which is not far from Old Mondoro. So for her, just to kill an impala or even a rhino, by then we had rhinos in the national parks. So they thought it was normal to kill the wildlife for food. So for them, they thought it was just a good life. To kill an animal, it was normal for them. But at a later stage, people, they realize now, if you go back to the village, you tell the old man about, they know that animals are very good because they've seen how we've been employed in the national parks. We are working around here and they can see the benefits already. You see there's an elephant here. Here, I can see the big elephant in front of us. It's really beautiful. This elephant is not harming us. He's just here. He wants to find his way out. So we're gonna wait for that elephant to move. Then we'll continue heading to the lions. See, they're just in front of us. That's a giant one, a big elephant, a big male. Yeah. So it's really good that you see the elephant like this. It's really amazing to see, because we're not here to harm the elephant. We're just on our way and it's going to find his way out like that. You can see it's moving straight there. Yeah, one of the big male. Whoever is supporting the mine, this is beautiful like this. How do you expect, you want this elephant to disappear because of the mining? So this is really beautiful thing. Just be here, and we need people to support, to protect these kind of heritage sites. So it's really beautiful. Lower Zambezi is just a small park. There's no room for the mine because this area, it's just 4,092 square kilometers. If they want to do development in mines, there are already other mines away in Cobra Belt there. They can continue doing that and protect this area, the national park, the Lower Zambezi National Park, and other national parks in Zambia. Yeah.
So the last black rhino was killed in 1989. Do you have hope that black rhinos will be reintroduced into this ecosystem?
Yeah, for sure, because with the support from people, the donors, and also the stakeholders, the lodge owners, they need to employ more than the national parks rangers so that we can keep protecting these areas. So if the area is very, very safe from poaching, why not bringing these black rhinos? They will definitely survive, and this area, if it's really protected, we say 0 to poaching, this area will be full of rhinos. We need the donors to donate to make our operations for the national parks to be easier so that they can protect this area. So then the national park, they'll bring the wildlife back again, like black rhinos and other things we don't have in the national parks.
When people donate money to, say, Conservation Lower Zambezi or Game Rangers International. What are some of the ways that money is used to help you, to help the wildlife, to help Zambia?
Most of the time, because in Zambia, because when they protect this area, okay, so like COZ, Conservation Lower Zambezi, what they normally do is that after a few years, they employ these game rangers, the wildlife police officers, which are local people from the communities, both Rufunsa and Lower Zambezi game management area. So these people, like us local people, we benefit because our brothers, they're being employed as the game rangers and police wildlife officers. And also they will educate kids by transporting kids from Rufunsa, where the conservation, those people, they thought they were not benefiting from this area. So the Conservation Lower Zambezi, they've started going to the villages there and bring kids to educate them about importance of wildlife around this area here. So it's really important that because all logistics they do, the money people donate, it helps buying vehicles for the wildlife protection and also the training. So it's very, very good. And also they buy food for the national parks, like for those people who are doing ant poaching. Conservation Lower Zambezi normally provide food for those game scouts going out for probably 10 to 14 days in the bush. So it's really important. Without money, people are donating, which means Conservation Lower Zambezi, and they won't be able to provide game scouts with enough food and resources to go out for ant poaching.
What advice would you share with someone listening?
I would say that people listening, they need to go out and tell the rest of our friends, families, how they can help, how they can donate just to save this wildlife we have. Because they're sending money to one person, the money goes there through the organization, and it really benefits other people like us, local people. It's really benefits because the little thing you donate, it's helping so many people in Zambia, people in the village, in the schools, and all those kind of programs happening in the country.
What song can you share with us now that comes to mind that makes sense to share?
So I have a song which was sung by our first president, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda. This song says that we need to move together. Without you people, we cannot achieve. So we need to be together, and we need to move together. It means let's move together as like one Zambia, one nation. So I'll sing that one. Although I'm not a good singer anyway. The song says, Tiende pamozi ndi mtima umo, 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 tiende tiri pakaunda tiri pamo, tiwoloke Zambezi ndi mtima umo, ende pamozi ndi mtima umo, tiwoloke Zambezi ndi mtima umo, tiwoloke Zambezi ndi mtima umo, tiwoloke Zambezi ndi mtima uno, sierra tieti pamozi, tiwoloke Zambezi ndi mtima umo. So it means let's cross the Zambezi with one heart together. So that's what it means. So it was sung by Kaunda. He used to sing it properly than me, but anyway, it's just for doing it. I have to learn how to sing, but it's okay. But you understand, it means it's a very, very important song. Kaunda was a unifier. So Kaunda used to live also here in the national park. He had his holiday home, which we can't get there now, but it's further east of Old Mondoro camp. So he was also into conservation at a later stage, so which is very good. So we'll keep doing that to the rest of our life. As long as we live as the guides of Lower Zambezi, we're going to make sure that we protect this area or environment around this area, Lower Zambezi, and the other national parks in Zambia.
Well, sounds like we're getting a little bit closer to the lions, so we'll wrap this up. But I wanted to say thank you so much for your time and energy and your song. I really appreciate it.
All right, I really appreciate Mandela. It's really a pleasure being with you, talking to you. Been very interesting. So I'm really happy that you need to keep doing a good job with Game Ranger International and also with Conservation Lower Zambezi. So we really appreciate that. You go out there and tell people and keep doing a great job for everyone so that this area is saved from being used as a national park and or in other national parks in Zambia. Yeah, so thank you very much. Thank you. So hope we'll see you many times. There's a lion here. You see a lion?
For this segment, we're going to speak with Luckson. Luckson has the highest qualification of a bush guide in Zambia. This qualification allows him to do what is called a walking safari. For these walking safaris, the guide is accompanied by an individual who carries a rifle. They work as a team to keep everyone safe during this incredible opportunity to connect with some of the smaller species one can only find when walking in the bush.
Well, my name is Luckson Sitembeko. We are in the Lower Zambezi National Park, and just behind me here is, we call them dumbos, and this is called the long pool dumbo. And you see all the birds, and beautiful, beautiful.
So you are a level 1 guide. What does that mean?
Level 1 guide, it means that you are qualified to do walking safaris. So basically, the course is divided into two. I first did my licenses on the Zimbabwean side, and out there it's divided into two. So you've got the learner part and the professional part. So you will study for a year, and at the end of the year you sit for either your learner professional hunters or guides license. And when you qualify, you are either issued with a learner professional hunters or guides license, and you need to be under apprenticeship of a qualified guide for a minimum of 2 years. And then the 4th year you can do your professional part. So hunters and guides undergo through the same theory exams. The only difference is the practicals. So because hunters, when hunters shoot, they don't touch the head, so they always go for the flank. Whereas with guides, only shoot at anything that is charging. Of course, like we shared earlier on, that we are not here to shoot, kill animals. But yeah, so with guides, they only shoot at an animal that is charging, and therefore they need to go for the brain shot.
Here in Zambia, there's level 3, level 2, level 1. It sounds like one is driving, one is canoe, one is walking. Can you explain that a little bit more to us?
In Zambia, basically, because we are trying to follow the Zimbabwean and or South African standard, so people would transfer exams. There's also fishing, boating. So once you get your transfer, then you can upgrade to a game drive, and then the following year you can do your grade 1, which is the walking. And then if you want to do your canoeing, you have to log about 250 hours. Those will authorize you to sit for your canoe special paper. So that's also another year.
The training is very, very intense. I noticed that the guides I've encountered, including yourself, know the scientific name for all the trees, all the insects, all the birds, all of the wildlife. It's really a doctorate in bush, I feel.
Yes, it is. I mean, it took me 4 years, to get to, that professional level. However, Mandela, having said that, it is not surprising sometimes to hear a guide tell you that I'm not so sure of that. I'll go and make a research and get back to you, because there is so much, that's required of us. Like you just mentioned, you can hear the birds. You need to know, the birds. You need to be able to identify them, from their calls, animal habits and habitats, gestation periods, vernacular names, the trees, flowering seasons, medicinal values, economical values, the fish, vernacular names, scientific names, astronomy, firearms and ballistics. For instance, if Adam was to be injured or fall sick, somehow.
When you say Adam, who are you talking about?
I'm talking about the escort scout, the gentleman that is carrying Top Gun. So if he was to be maimed or fall sick, as a guide, I have to take responsibility. So firearms and ballistics is part of the training as well. So it is very involving. It is.
So we are here in Lower Zambezi National Park, and we just did a walking safari. Now, with the walking safari, Adam, who works for the national park, he was walking in the front with a high caliber rifle, and you walked behind him. Tell us a little bit more about that structure.
It actually works very well. I mean, depending on what country. I mean, South Africa and Zimbabwe guides carry their own firearms. We don't use wildlife police officers. But in Zambia, we have got this guide wildlife police officer relationship, and both systems work very, very, very well. So in case of any unforeseen circumstances, while he deals with the situation, I'll take you to safety.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about the circle of protection, because I noticed we were walking around, you and Adam were both moving your head constantly, seeing who was around, getting the binoculars out to look at the Cape Buffalo. And when we saw the Cape Buffalo, you had some interesting things to say about the Cape Buffalo. Can you share some of that with us?
Yes, generally, I mean, depending on what animal we're talking about, for instance, elephants, I mean, you cannot allow an elephant to be anything 20 meters or less away from you. You'll quickly disappear under the feet. So up to 100 meters, you can see, the animals, they start, looking at you. And as you move closer, they stop what they're doing and concentrate. And so when they start looking at you above their noses, buffalo, for instance, that's the time to get away from there.
Mm-hmm. So the circle of protection changes depending on the animal.
Exactly.
Can you give us another example, say like a lion versus a Cape Buffalo?
We're talking dangerous animals here. So anything, 100 meters, that's the safe circle, basically. I wouldn't like to surprise them. Mm-hmm. Anything less than that, they start, growling, and I think you're pushing it too much. So 50 meters is probably, the least you can. Mm-hmm. Of course, I've bumped into sleeping lions. They blend in so well. Mm-hmm. 100 meters is probably the best.
Now, I want people to understand that, it's the last resort to shoot the animal. It's the job as the guide to read their behavior so they don't feel threatened, so that you wouldn't put the animal at risk.
Yes, that's basically the reason why, you see, Mandela, when we go on walking safaris, the whole idea is not to see big game. The whole idea is to try and concentrate on little things that we tend to neglect on game drives. Things like, the dung, the trees, the insects, the tracks, etc. If you bump into big game, it's a bonus. But so, we always try to see the animals from afar before they even, get to see you. So the whole idea is to view them, leave them alone without, them, where possible, noticing that you are around.
So of the smaller things, people focus, seems like, on the elephants and the leopards and the big game, like you said. But can you share with us 5 interesting small species that play a vital role in this ecosystem?
Yes, obviously you may have heard of the Big Five. The Big Five was a term that was used to describe dangerous animals, and that includes elephant, buffalo, the 2 rhinos, which is the black and the white, lion and leopard. And now you've got these what they call the small 5, which includes the buffalo weaver, elephant shrew, leopard tortoise, rhinoceros beetle. Those are some of the small 5, as they call them. Mm-hmm. They each play an important role, and so if you were to remove one out of the ecosystem, basically that creates an imbalance.
Mm-hmm. For example, if we were to remove mosquitoes from the ecosystem, that would actually end up being very bad for everyone.
Absolutely. I mean, every creature has got a role that they play within the ecosystem, and mosquitoes, for instance, they help pollinate flowers. If obviously they were to be removed, then that would obviously create some imbalance of some sort. Mm-hmm. I know there are plenty other insects. They are there for a purpose.
I think people listening might be interested in terms of, we did a walking safari this morning.
Yes.
What's the history of the walking safari? How did that originate?
Walking safaris in Zambia originated in one of our national parks called South Luangwa National Park. There used to be a gentleman by the name Norman Carr. He's the one that pioneered walking safaris. And this gentleman basically had captive lions that he kept and would walk with them. And finally, he released them into the wild, and he saw them about 2 years after being released. So that actually ensured successful release of these lions.
Speaking of lions, if we were to have encountered, say, the lions that we saw yesterday during our walk, I know that the lions right now are mating, so they're distracted and they're tired, but if we were to have seen them while walking, what approach would you have taken?
They are dangerous animals, and so we will view them from a distance. Yeah, so I wouldn't take a chance and walk into mating lions. They can be quite aggressive, either on foot or on vehicle. So you've got to be extra cautious. So yes, we will give them a safe distance. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, we don't want to push them, like we shared earlier on.
Well, one thing I think that is maybe interesting for folks is they might think when a lion sees you, it comes right at you, but that's not necessarily the case.
No, it's not necessarily the case, because you see, as human beings, we are such an unusual prey to them. So they wouldn't just charge at humans. Yeah. Unless you surprise them at close range, that's when they can charge. But as long as they are safe, remember those are safe circles we spoke about, then you'll be safe as well. Leave them alone, they'll leave you alone.
Yes. I can't not ask you about this because you and I are both river guides, right. And you guided on the Zambezi River. So tell us a little bit about the evolution of you going from being a whitewater river guide in the Zambezi to a walking guide further downstream.
I thought it was, pretty much, similar because, of course, the brother that, brought me up didn't want me to work, as a river guide. Mm-hmm. So when I qualified as a whitewater rafting guide, I invited him on one of my trips, and we capsized 6 times. So he didn't like it. And then I thought, okay, let me do my guide's licenses on the Upper Zambezi. And I started doing the canoeing. And I also invited him on one of my trips. We got charged by hippo, and he didn't like it. But eventually he had to understand that I think, the young man is grown and capable of looking after himself, and here I am.
Seems like a similar story to mine. My family was very unsure of me becoming a river guide.
Absolutely. Yeah, you see, like with us Africans, is this a theory, which says that, the river eats people. And obviously because, most Africans cannot swim due to lack of swimming pool facilities. So he was not comfortable for me to be on the river, thinking maybe I might, drown or, croaks or whatever. But I grew up, in town where there were swimming pool facilities. So I swim very well. And so to me, it was a walkover.
Yeah. My last question for you is I wanted to talk to you about the Kalue copper mine proposal and how you feel about having a copper mine built about 20 kilometers from where we are now in the mountains, how that might affect you and your community.
See, Mandela, this is one of the prime areas for wildlife, really, and everyone, and I mean everyone, is against that mine. Think of all the residues that are going to be coming from the mountain straight into the river. Mm-hmm. Then the tiger fish, all the fish will die. All these elephants that you saw, all these lions that you're seeing, they all are going to go. So please, let's stop that mining.
And I believe the messaging is we are collectively asking UNESCO to designate Lower Zambezi World Heritage Site.
Absolutely. We really don't. We really don't need that mine. No, we don't. Everything is going to go in the river, and it's not only the animals and the fish that are going to get affected, but there are people that depend on this same river further low, downstream, and they don't need those chemicals in the water. So please, let's stop that mining where possible.
In closing, I think it's so important that we learn from the past. When we talk about this area, before the Kariba Dam, I believe that there was much more water that came into this area. People were relocated. It has continued to affect their lives. So don't you think it's important that we just look at what mistakes we've made in the past and move forward, learning from those mistakes?
I absolutely think so, yes. But of course, one of the reasons why, people were relocated from this area was to allow, space for the animals. Mm-hmm. Of course, there has been a lot of, tsetse fly, which is known to, transmit sleeping sickness. So people had to be moved onto the other side of the mountains to create room for the animals. Yes.
What's one thing that you've learned from all of your time in the bush? What has the bush taught you?
Well, the bush has taught me not to panic, but to take it easy. There is a lot to learn out there, and for me, every day is always a learning curve. I learn something new every day, and it is not only our guests that actually benefit from us. We also benefit a lot from our guests. So I always say it's a win-win for all, and there is no losers out here.
What song reminds you of the bush?
There is this, song that goes, "In the jungle, the mighty jungle, the lions sleep tonight." I love it. Reminds me of a lot out there.
For this final segment, we're going to speak with a guide named Milan while he drives his Land Cruiser during a night drive on the Zambian side of the lower Zambezi River. We're driving along in a Land Cruiser at night, looking for leopards with Malan PD. He is the guide this evening on this bush drive. We watched the sunset with the hippos in the background. And what else did we see today?
We saw one female lion. It was around 16 to 17, somewhere there. And we headed towards the lake where we saw 5 buffaloes and multiple antelopes plus the Egyptian geese.
Tell me about your job. What do you do as a guide?
I teach people how to conserve and to know the importance of wildlife and also nature. So these are the things whereby a guide each and every time has to take note into his duties each and every time. Or without teaching people to know the importance of nature and wildlife. These are the things which brings down the wildlife, because it's a part which brings money in the country. So everyone has to understand and know the importance of nature and wildlife. So I've been doing this just to help people, to teach people to know the importance of wildlife, and also to empower some certain areas where they don't know about the importance of wildlife. And I've been doing this. I do this during my off days in South Ruangwa. I do teach people the same activities of wildlife and nature. Everyone where I'm coming from is well updated to know the importance of wildlife, which know that is something which brings money in the country. And we have also the project which it has been just introduced through the wildlife, which helps vulnerable children when they don't have parents to be taken to school. So I'm happy to do my guiding, and I think I won't stop it. And I'll really try by all means emphasize on my fellow guides that we have to work together with the wildlife forest officers to reduce the poaching system, so that at least we have more wildlife in the country, so that the next generation also they should come and benefit from that.
Why do you think it's important to share wildlife with people who haven't seen that wildlife before?
Days past, people they did not know the importance of wildlife and also nature. So we normally share this because to those people they stay away from the areas where we normally do the activities. It's very difficult for them to know exactly what is happening on the ground. So we started a project, teach people, even though it's very difficult for other people to understand, but still we are trying by all means to do this hand in hand with the wildlife officers, so that we reduce poaching and cutting trees down anyhow, because our trees in all various places to have rains, because without trees we cannot have rains. If you go Namibia down there, the suffering because of tree cutting down, there was a drought due to the same factors. So we have come up with this idea. Up to this time, some of the people they started understanding. This time, there are very few individuals, those they don't understand. But 3/4, as far as where the tourism is concerned, they have come to understand the importance.
Milan, if you were to be able to sit down and speak to a poacher, what would you say?
I have friends that have been doing poaching, and when I go home, I always teach them because in poaching there's no any benefit, because you just end up being in the prison, leaving the families behind suffering. So each and every time I teach them to know the importance they have to know and reduce poaching. And I would rather say they should stop completely going in the bush, doing things illegal, because illegal things always brings a problem at your family. The only benefit which you can have is you end up yourself going into prison. Maybe they will be prison you 5 years, 10 years. So who suffers end of the day? This is the family behind. So I try by all means to teach the poachers. They're a little bit contradictory from the area where I'm coming from, but being friends, the time when I started teaching them, they have transformed into good careers. Some the guides, some just drivers, some the gardeners. So this is what they do, and this is what I did to them. And I'm really happy because some of them have transformed into good careers. And they're still more contradictory with the program to know the importance of nature and wildlife.
That's very amazing. You say you have friends who are poachers, and then you spoke with them and helped them understand the connection between wildlife and everything working out for Zambia, and they changed careers.
Yes, and they're really happy. And sometimes they call me, we share some ideas, and the same people, they also teach those people they don't understand. And just a few days ago, there's someone just called me. They said one of those people that were too contradictory. One has stopped completely in terms of poaching. So now he's doing other things such as farming, which I was really happy. And I'm happy because these are the things whereby everyone is going to benefit on the end of the day. It's not only me, multiple people in Zambia, they benefit from tourism in Zambia. So it's very important, and it's really, 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 really good and happy because some now that understanding.
Sometimes when people think about poaching, they only think of elephant tusks, but there's other types of poaching, isn't there?
Yes, some of them mainly they go for elephant tusk, a tusk from the government, and they've really controlled now. Very, very, very slow now than the past days, especially each year. Here in Kafue National Park, it was really bad. The reason why, when you come closer with the animals, they tend to run away because the poaching, it was really heavy before the AP came in. So after the AP came in, at least things are changing bit by bit, and I'm really happy. I do share with the AP officers what they can do just to reduce more poaching, because poaching is something where it brings everything down. Some people, they do poaching because of poverty. Poverty is the thing which brings someone to do illegal things. So, but still more, because of that poverty, we always come in teaching that person just to come out from that. Then we look for other alternative just to help that person. So we always call upon the organization which they can help, but unfortunately it's very difficult to people to come in. So in that situation, a person who kills animals or poaching without any papers, it cannot be reduced. But it is our effort now to talk with higher authorities so that maybe to those people they do poaching, illegal, killing animals due to poverty, we need to find another way of reducing that. So they do that because of poverty. This is what is happening. Yeah, they don't kill it just because of they've seen an animal, but just because of poverty. They sell it to some people, but the only person who benefits from that is the one who buys. But the one who kills doesn't benefit. Just the same as the ivories. The one who sells ivories doesn't benefit. You end up just getting into jail. But the only person who benefits, the one who buys. So this is what is happening. So these are the things whereby each and every time we teach people, they should stop completely. Yeah.
Why are there no black rhinos in the park, and do you think they'll ever come back?
Yeah, we don't have black rhinos in the park due to poaching. We had some black rhinos here in Zambia and also in South Ruangwa, and we had the company or organization which was called Save Rhino Trust. But behind all that, we don't know what was happening. But they were really doing their great job protecting those animals. So due to poaching, all the animals such as black rhinos, they went to extinct. But according to hearsay, the AP says they want to bring back the black rhinos in the Kafue National Park. So this is what I know. Yeah.
Thank you so much. For someone who's listening, can you tell us what you're doing right now? What do you see?
We are doing a night drive with my clients and I'm happy. And I've got my friend who is doing sporting, Ruston. He's doing his duties and he's a very good spotter. Then in board I've got good clients, very cooperative. We are sharing some ideas according to what we see in terms of wildlife and vegetation. So I'm really happy and I wish everyone a good night.
What are you driving right now?
I'm driving the Land Cruiser, green in color, with 9-seater. This car, and it's a very good car. It doesn't give me any problems. I always trust my car. I go out doing my game drives each and every time.
Yep. I have a question for you though. How do you feel about Land Rovers?
Land Rovers, they're good and lighter, and especially when you go in the sand, you don't get stuck. They're easily driven in the sand than cruisers, it's heavier. But they're also good, very strong vehicles, Land Rovers. Unless you do maintenance each and every time, then the Land Rovers can last longer than the cruiser. Cruiser is more effective. Yeah.
I asked because I drive a Land Rover Defender and it's broken, it's in the shop.
Okay, so some story was I know I've been driving Land Rovers for so many times, so I know what it is. If you don't pay attention to the Land Rovers, each and every time you'll be finding some problems. Unless if you really taking care of it each and every time, maybe after 2 months or a month, you take it to do the service, then you definitely won't be giving you problems.
Hello, my name is Lisa Bickle. I'm a board member with the Montana Natural History Center. Our mission is to promote and cultivate the appreciation, understanding, and stewardship of nature through education. My naturalist tip of the week is to watch or listen for northern flickers. The northern flicker is a woodpecker, about the size of a robin. It has a brown body with black spots and a black crescent on its chest. Unlike most woodpeckers, flickers spend a lot of time on the ground, using their long beaks to dig for ants. In the spring, you may hear them drumming on trees, metal, or even houses. They do this to mark their territory and attract mates. For more information, and to become a member of the Montana Natural History Center, visit montananaturalist.org. That's montananaturalist.org.
That's it for this week's adventure, my friends in Missoula and around the world. But until next week, please remember, conservation is not a spectator sport. Living in Missoula is a privilege. With privilege comes responsibility. Please get educated and engaged. Speak up on behalf of wildlife and wild places. And if you think you're too small to make a difference, well then you've never spent the night with a mosquito.